I've just returned from Geneva, where I attended a meeting of domain name panelists at WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. And a lot of conversations there focused on the ongoing surge in domain name dispute complaints being filed by trademark owners, a trend that I report on in detail in the latest issue of GigaLaw's Domain Dispute Digest. This report for the third quarter of 2022 includes a chart of domain name disputes filed at WIPO over the past 23 years, and the trend is very clear. Complaints are rising for the 9th consecutive year, and they're likely to reach a record number again before 2022 is over. And while WIPO is the largest and most active of all of the service providers under the UDRP, the Uniform Domain Name Dispute Resolution Policy, this trend is true across all of the providers. As the digest shows, the number of UDRP decisions was up more than 24% last quarter, topping more than 2,000 for the first time since I began publishing the digest. And as this chart shows, the number of disputed domain names in those cases rose too, more than 18%, reaching almost 4,000 domain names in just a single quarter. Now, there's a lot more data like this in the digest, and I won't cover everything here in this short video, but you can read all of the details by downloading a free copy from my website at giga.law/digest. Now, as usual, the digest shows that trademark owners prevailed in more than 95% of all UDRP cases, which only continues to reinforce the fact that the UDRP remains an incredibly powerful tool to be used against cyber squatters. On the other hand, the URS, or Uniform Rapid Suspension System, which is an alternative to the UDRP in some cases, although it does not apply to .com domain names, and it only allows for the temporary suspension of a disputed domain name, not a transfer, was not nearly as helpful for trademark owners, who won only 75% of their cases in the quarter. Plus, as this chart shows, there were only 42 URS decisions in the third quarter of 2022, which represents only about 2% of the total number of UDRP decisions. So, who is filing complaints under the UDRP? The digest includes a list of the most active trademark owners, which operate in a wide variety of industries, including social media, tobacco, financial services, apparel, and many more. And while this chart from the digest shows that Meta Platforms was the most active filer with decisions in 27 cases, a deeper dive into the data reveals that this number is even bigger because 3 Meta companies, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, actually filed UDRP complaints in their own names, raising the total to 45 decisions involving companies under the Meta umbrella. And as is true for all of the trademark owners identified in the digest, this does not include cases that were filed but settled, so the total number of complaints actually filed is much higher. So what's driving this ongoing surge in domain name disputes? I had the opportunity at the WIPO meeting in Geneva to talk with my colleagues about this very topic with nearly 120 domain name panelists from 26 countries around the world, as well as with the incredibly dedicated WIPO staff that manages this important process. So in the WIPO meeting and in my conversations on the sidelines in Geneva, 2 important issues stood out: the COVID-19 pandemic and phishing activities. As I've been writing and talking about since the arrival of the pandemic, cyber squatters quickly became opportunistic, as is always the case, registering domain names that contain the word COVID or other related terms. Plus, with many people continuing to work from home or remotely and spending even more time online, the potential audience of victims is greater than it has ever been. And although the registration of COVID-specific domain names seems to have dwindled, the amount of phishing activities, that is, using domain names that falsely appear to be related to a trademark owner with the intent of extracting payment from an employee or a customer, has become even more widespread. Personally, I know that I've seen an increase in phishing, and I have filed many UDRP complaints for my clients that have been targeted by phishers, often through what are called business email compromise scams. The FBI, in fact, has even issued a warning about these scams, which often involve what appear to be emails from vendors requesting payment of invoices to a new and inaccurate address. Fortunately, the UDRP is a very effective way to shut down this type of phishing activity. So the digest also includes a lot of other data, including an expanded list of the largest UDRP cases in the quarter, the most common GTLDs and CCTLDs and domain name disputes, and much more. Again, You can see all of it in the complete report at giga.law/digest. And if you want to learn even more about the UDRP, please check out my masterclass on domain name disputes, as well as other resources on my GigaLaw website. Also, be sure to subscribe to the GigaLaw YouTube channel to be notified of future videos discussing other internet legal issues. Thanks for watching, and see you next time online.